Hello, this is Robert Valley. Flag Day here in the United States is special for a number of reasons. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson issued a proclamation that officially established June 14th as Flag Day, and it's been celebrated on this day ever since. It's important to us because the American flag was a big part of the origins of the George P. Johnson Company. At the turn of the 20th century, a then 14-year-old boy, George P. Johnson, left school to work with his father. He learned to sew by hand with palm and needle the seams on canvas sails that were used by the steamships that moved commerce on the Great Lakes. Detroit was the place you stopped to get your sails repaired or replaced. With his father, George Johnson also began to make canvas awnings. As the ships moved to steam power only, young George went into the awning sales business full-time. In December of 1913, George's father died, and 1 year later, in 1914, at the age of 27, George founded the George P. Johnson Company with $200. It was a mostly women workplace of seamstresses doing awning work and repairs on canvas sails, but a new business was emerging, the use of red, white, and blue bunting. These were canvas patriotic swags used at state fairs and celebrations of state like Independence Days, election days, and inaugurations. Mr. Johnson saw another use at the first public collections of automobiles, what we know today as auto shows. In addition to these swags, Mr. Johnson and his seamstresses began to produce American flags. And by 1917, he was one of the 3 largest producers of flags in the country and the only volume producer in Detroit. An entrepreneur, Mr. Johnson saw an opportunity. The United States had entered World War I in 1916. Reasoning that there would be an end to the war in Europe now that the U.S. was involved, he began working overtime to produce American flags of all sizes. For more than a year, he warehoused his inventory. On Armistice Day, November 11, 1918, the Western Front was finally quiet. At 4 a.m. the next day, Mr. Johnson's store in downtown Detroit was mobbed. In 24 hours, he sold every flag at slightly inflated prices and reinvested all of the profits in the company. His reputation in the Detroit area grew, and in 1923, he was approached by the largest department store in Detroit, J.L. Hudson, to manufacture what was then the world's largest American flag. It hung on the side of J.L. Hudson's every Flag Day for years. It was huge. Each star on the flag was over 6 feet tall. The flag was so big that the only facility large enough to lay it out and make repairs was Olympia Stadium, where the Detroit Red Wings used to play. The flag once hung from the St. Louis Arch and was eventually donated to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. The company began to diversify in the 1940s and 50s, but flags and rags continued to be a big part of the company's offering. Red, white, and blue decorations were provided by George P. Johnson at the Army-Navy E Awards during World War II, recognizing companies for their outstanding production efforts. Gradually, canvas was replaced by nylon, and decorations became exhibits. And today, the company provides widely diversified experience marketing services. But the flag has always been a special part of the company. Our headquarters have always had a prominent flagpole, as did Mr. Johnson's home on the east side of Detroit. His flagpole often served as the structural centerpiece of his famous Christmas decorations, which people lined up to view every holiday season. My grandfather, George P. Johnson, who I got to know well as a young man, was very special. Hardworking, personable, and a very sharp dresser, he would still come into the old office on Groesbeck every Thursday in the late 70s to pick up his check. Working in production at the time on exhibits, he would stop me in the hallway and ask, "Young man, are those saws humming out there?" Yes, sir, they are." "Ah, that's good. Means we're making money," he'd say. Next year will mark 110 years since its founding. Not many companies survive, much less thrive, over that many years. As a key part of what is now Project Worldwide, we honor the legacy of the role George P. Johnson and the American flag has played in our history. For those of you who continue to work on behalf of the company and those who have come before, we sincerely thank you.